Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise recap. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we got Andrew Quinn and Carl McDonald. And your Boston Celtics have defeated the Golden State Warriors with a final score of 120 to 99. I gotta tell you guys, we saw a lot of great players tonight for the Celtics. I'm talking about the bench guys. Got to see Charles Bassey out there finally tonight. Got to see some of the bench guys, but good win for the Boston Celtics over the Warriors. It kind of looked that way. You saw a lot of injuries for the Golden State Warriors, but ultimately, a win is a win, and we're happy about it. But you guys know the drill. Initial thoughts. Andrew, we'll start off with you and go to Carl. What are your initial thoughts after this big Celtics win?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, this Warriors team is they're a good team because they have a system in place and Steve Kerr is their coach. Draymond was facilitating really, really well. They had a lot of backdoor cuts, off ball screens that got guys open, and they made the Celtics' life difficult. On the other side, I thought the Celtics defensively played really well, and they held them to 99 points, right below that 100 mark. And throughout this entire season, it's kind of something I've been noticing. The Celtics do a really, really good job of identifying matchups, identifying personnel on the opposing team, and using that to their advantage. I mean, many times tonight we saw Pritchard or anyone helping off a Gary Payton Jr. and going down to the big because we know Gary Payton can't shoot threes. So we're going to give him that three and take away the big man in the post. Same thing with Draymond. A lot of there's just a lot of really smart defensive possessions for the Celtics that really take them over the hump and give them more possessions on the other end. And so I really just like how smart they've been playing as of late and throughout this entire season. And then once again, the Jays. I mean, that's kind of the storyline tonight. Jaylen Brown with another impressive night, MVP caliber night. This guy is just so efficient, man. He's so smart. I was talking about it earlier with my dad, and his ability to survey the floor and his spatial awareness to know what's open, where he needs to go. Like, he's so commanding in that area of the game, and he just gets to his spots, and he has counters for everything the defense does. If they're overplaying, he's gonna fade away and take a little midi. If he gets you on his hip, he's going to the rim, and he's strong, so he can really, really find his way to the rim. I mean, he's just smart, and if they take you away even more, he's getting a kick out. Like his attention to detail this season, he is just so much smarter, and you just feel so confident with the ball in his hands, opposed to other past seasons. And that's really the biggest step for me, is his decision making and his ability to just dictate the pace of the game. And then Jason Tatum. I mean, Jason Tatum is coming back to himself. Every game he's progressively finding himself and figuring it out. And he shot his best from beyond the arc tonight. And you have Jason Tatum who can facilitate. He had 10 rebounds. And then you add on all these role players that just know their positions. It's a recipe for success. And with Tatum and Brown figuring it out, the rhythm, it's only going to get better. So tonight was a really good game against a tough team. It may not see it from the score, but this team was giving them a run for their money, and they had to make sure they were playing with attention to detail and not making mistakes, because the Warriors would have capitalized on it.
Just a great win from the Celtics, pretty much continuing their momentum from the last win that they picked up against the Suns, also in the Garden. It is always great to see, the Celtics always playing, that team basketball, especially this incarnation of the team. I feel like in this game, too, we got to see, a bit more from everybody because of what Jason Tatum was providing tonight. Definitely, somebody who's very high on my list for tonight's CNR MVP, something that we'll discuss a little bit later. But I feel like he was a big reason, for this team, picking up this win. I feel like with him finally, not so finally, but really getting more of his confidence into the game, it allowed for the team to, continue their success and continuing to play the way that they are playing throughout the season. Not just, everybody else, but also Jaylen Brown, somebody who's been leading the team for the majority of the season. And yeah, as Andrew alluded to, seeing the Jays playing together in the way that they were playing was absolutely incredible. Felt like the good old days of them just dominating and just being that quick 1-2 punch within their team, and just dishing out punishment to any and every team that they're doing battle with. It's always great to see those two playing together and leading the Boston Celtics in the way that they're leading, especially against the Golden State Warriors team that they were supposed to be. A team that is indeed tough, not just because of what they don't have at the moment in Steph Curry, but also in them having to deal with their former teammate in Kristaps Porzingis. So great to see, the Celtics coming back, or not coming back, but going ahead and essentially dominating throughout this entire game, and just showing that they're a team that's looking to prove something this season still, even with the return of Tatum.
Yeah, no, well said, you guys. And I apologize for making the ticker disappear for the second time. Geez, I gotta get better at that. That's the last time I make that mistake. Andrew's right. ChatGPT, the way to go, guys. No, but great win for the Boston Celtics. It was nice to see Cookies and Cream back out there on the court, even though KP was on the other side. Would love to still have him on the squad. But overall, I love what you guys said too, and it was great to see
A
Jason.
healthy KP. A
Yeah.
healthy KP.
Keep him healthy. That's the one thing I want for KP. I was thinking about this. Our guy, Coach AJ, said this in class even one time, Andrew. He was saying the reason why the Celtics went out after him is they looked at the stats and who was the one guy that really did well every time the Celtics played him, and that was KP, and they went for him. Even if KP has some big nights against us, who I thought he was going to have a huge night. Obviously, you'll get into it soon, Andrew, but still, the one thing I want for Kristaps Porzingis is to just be healthy. Like I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. But overall, great win from the Boston Celtics, and it was a lot of fun tonight. It was a fun Celtics win, and I gotta say, I was asking Carl earlier, where's your brother? Like, he should be in here, and we need Daniel's brother in here too, both Golden State fans. But a win is a win, and we'll get them on next year. We're at the end of the season. But Carl, if you wanted to go over the differentials for us, I couldn't think about it for a second, but if you don't mind breaking that down for us, Carl.
Thank you, Griffin. So yeah, of course, as we like to discuss here, the sea of green when it comes to talking about the quarters here. As we see here, pretty much for the most part throughout these quarters, the Celtics are dominating. They do so in the first, third, and fourth quarter, being able to close out this game and essentially, again, dominate throughout the majority of this game. The only two things here that, really are worth mentioning is the fact that the second quarter we did tie the Warriors. But again, it wasn't something that was going to be, for long, because again, the Celtics would dominate within that second half, just like they did in the first quarter. Also, within the sea of green, we do see a little bit of blue. This is something that, the Celtics dealt with, where the Warriors were, fighting at the very beginning, but weren't able to have it materialize into anything special for them, as the Celtics would be up 26 within the fourth quarter. And again, the Celtics would go on to win, pretty much dominating throughout the majority of this game here.
Yeah, no. And I gotta say, you look at that first quarter, how dominant it was. It started off with the Warriors, but it's because JB really caught on fire. Those 19 first quarter points was just phenomenal. And you see right here, the Boston Celtics were able to do what they've been doing all year on the glass again tonight, with 54 rebounds opposed to 40. And it was just a beautiful night for the Boston Celtics. And I gotta say, the one thing I didn't like, and I messed it up on the turnovers on here, but 16 turnovers for the Boston Celtics. That was the only kind of thing that I wasn't a big fan of tonight. Tonight, they weren't so great with the ball. But I have to say overall though, great, great, great win for the Celtics. Do you guys have anything you want to mention when it comes to just because look at this, like the rebounding again, like it's been so dominant all season, and I think we got to mention that. Like, you would think coming in this year we were in such a panic for like looking for people to grab the boards, and this was constantly a problem the past few years. We were like, all right, they've been terrible on the glass, but this year being able to dominate it, and I think that's because of guys like, I'm looking at the stat sheet, and it's guys like Kada getting 7 boards, Baylor Shireman 8 rebounds, Derek White 6 rebounds, Garza 7, Tatum 10, Brown 6 rebounds. It's just like all these rebounds, like everyone's wants the ball. Everyone's trying to rebound. And I love that. I love that from the Boston Celtics. But do you guys have anything else you want to add on that behalf?
No, yeah, like I said, yeah, like you said, Griffin, you're right. When it comes to the rebound game, that has now become one of our greatest strengths. And I'd say even greater with the return of Jason Tatum. And eventually, when Vucevic does return, it's just going to get even better from there. We talk about how Jason Tatum is already a great rebounder, also giving that credit to Neemias Queta and even Luka Garza as well, coming off of the bench. Also, some of your smaller players too, Jaylen Brown, and then going even smaller with Peyton Pritchard grabbing rebounds. And that's, very important and very crucial. It shouldn't just be on the bigger guys to pick up those rebounds. Obviously, they'll be the most reliable, but everybody should be able to contribute to picking a board, whether it's on the offensive or defensive end. So it is great to see them once again winning the rebound battle. I fully expect for them to win the rebound battle almost every single night that they are playing. And the main flaw that I have here, as you also talked about, Griffin, is the turnovers. We noticed it throughout the game that was, something that was really a crutch for us and something that I feel like we can touch upon and fix upon because, the season is, of course, ramping up. And this is something that we have to fix immediately so it doesn't also eventually become a crutch like the rebounds was for us, late last season.
No, yeah, 100%. Andrew, do you have anything you want to add on to this? Because again, just so dominant this season on the glass this year.
No, just credit to the guys finding ways to get a rebound and working together on that end. That's really it.
No, without a doubt. But Andrew, I'm gonna toss it over to you as geez, we came out of order after that. If you don't mind breaking down the Warriors stats for us.
Yeah, so Guy Santos with 13 points, 5 rebounds. Nice new, like, I wouldn't say rookie, but early in his career, and he's found his way with the Warriors. Draymond Green, 13, knocked a couple threes down early in the first, but for the rest of the game, he was breaking it, and we'll take it. I mean, we'll let him shoot all day. That is perfectly fine with the Celtics. Kristaps, really, really hot start at the beginning of this game, but he finished with 11 with pretty low percentages from the field. D'Anthony Milton, only 5 points. Brandon Podinski, 10 points. And Gary Payton, 14. He was pretty much a highlight, I'd say, tonight from both a defensive end and his ability to crash the glass and just make an impact on that side of the floor. And Pat Spencer, another guy that was scoring a lot tonight, 14 points, but, points that didn't feel nearly as meaningful and impactful as they would want. And I think he definitely played really well, and he had some tough shots, but once again, they were not as important. And other than that, a bunch of guys rounded it out. So pretty quiet night from across the board. And it makes sense when you don't have a guy like Steph Curry on the court and even Seth Curry. I mean, it's just you're hoping that everyone contributes. And honestly, the way they played tonight, I was thoroughly impressed with their off-ball movement and their ability to create shots for themselves. You just don't have that scorer in Steph Curry to give you that extra punch to take you to the finish line. So that's really it. I mean, other than that, nothing that stands out from the stats.
Yeah, and for the Boston Celtics tonight, I mean, you see Tanji, DNP, Walsh, and Amari, but it kind of confuses me because I thought Walsh has been playing great in the minutes he's been receiving as of recently. I forgot what game it was recently. I think we lost OKC when we put him in. He was phenomenal in that OKC game, and then he's got a couple DNPs. So I think you see it with Joe Mazzulla. Like we've seen it with Luka Garza countless times this season, where he'll perform well and then the next day may get a DMP. So I think it just happens. But sucks. I want to see him out there a little bit more because I really like Walsh. But for the Celtics, Shulga got some minutes tonight, got 2 minutes at the end, had an assist. Ron Harper Jr. played 7 minutes, had a rebound. Nothing else doing for him. Ugo in 10 minutes, 3 rebounds, nothing really else. Charles Bassey, who I was going to be like, whoa, why didn't we see him tonight, you guys? But we did, had 2 points and a rebound. Love to see it for Charles Bassey, first NBA points with the Celtics. So congrats to Charles Bassey. But then next up, Sam Hauser in 21 minutes had 6 points, shot 33.3%. Again, I think he's in a little bit of a slump, which we got to note it a little bit because, again, playoffs are coming up. We want everyone to be red hot, but you see that's what the Celtics have been doing. And, I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but that's what benefits the Celtics so much, having Jason Tatum back, because I would say him and Brown are probably the most consistent on this team. You've seen ever since Jason Tatum has back, will give you like 20 points a game. So that consistency is just great for the Celtics. Bonfire Baylor tonight, 3 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, shot 25%. But other than that, pretty good game, especially on the glass. I had to tell you, Andrew, we had to explain what Bonfire Baylor was to David the other night. So we let him know what's up with Bonfire Baylor. But then next up, Namias Queta saw some good things, good putbacks from him tonight, but 8 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and shot 57.1. Derek White, good stat line all the way across. Not a lot of points tonight, but good game. 11 points, 6 rebounds, an assist, 3 steals, and a block. Shot 50%. But now moving up into the heavy hitters for the Celtics tonight, because I think any of these guys, you credit them for a CNR MVP. There might be 1 or 2 guys that stick out more than others, but I thought Luka Garza is a guy that you really got to count tonight because he had a phenomenal game. 15 points, 3 steals, 7 rebounds, and shot 60% from the field goal tonight. Was phenomenal. I loved watching Luka Garza tonight, I have to say.
My only complaint with Luka Garza was he missed a couple bunnies here and there that they probably should have hit. But other than that, really good job from him tonight.
Without a doubt. But next up, Peyton Pritchard. I mean, I think we had to study his downfall for 1 second. We're like, whoa, his downfall was a little crazy, but he's toned it back in with 19 points tonight, a steal and 7 assists, and shot 50%. One thing I like that Joe Mazzulla is doing too is the guys who are in slumps, he'll keep in there at the end. Like once you could tell the game's out of reach, like I understand like people are going to get mad. Like, why didn't Amari play? Why didn't Tanji play tonight? But that's because he's trying to get the guys to break out of their slump, kind of put them in when it's almost meaningless and kind of just let them figure it out from there. So that credit to Joe Mazzulla. I think that's a smart move because I know in the past years I'd be mad, like, why aren't you putting in your bench right now? Like he's helping them break out of the slump. So I like that. But I think these are the 2 guys that we're really going to highlight for CNR MVP. And we get into it, but Jason Tatum tonight had a phenomenal game with a double-double, 24 points, 2 assists, 10 rebounds, a steal, and shot 46.7. David would have loved that one tonight. Percent from the field goal, but had a phenomenal game. Most efficient game, I think, as you alluded to, Carl. Just a phenomenal game from Jason Tatum. And this is one where he could have easily taken over. And, the one thing I love from Jason Tatum was 7 for 15. Any other night, I love how he's sitting back and letting the team do what they did before. Because, Jason Tatum would take over these games. And if Jason Tatum didn't have a good game, a lot of the times the Celtics are losing. Like we saw him last year, he had 25 CNR MVPs. I mean, that was pretty much what it was. But now the team, you saw he was hesitant to come back, but he's taking a back seat and letting the game come to him, which I love. But I gotta say, Jaylen Brown tonight too, 19 first quarter points. He had this game on his back, ended the game with 32 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and shot 55% from the field goal. I mean, he's phenomenal, and there's a reason why we put Jaylen Brown in the MVP talks and why he already has 15 CNR MVPs on the season. I mean, he is unbelievable and playing out of his mind. And Andrew, you even gave a great statement about him earlier, and well said, because Jaylen Brown is just another animal. But now moving into CNR MVP voting for tonight, I gotta say, I'm gonna give Daniel's take really quick because he was in the group chat, and we count everyone's votes. Everyone's votes matter. So we'll give Daniel his vote. He votes Jaylen Brown. He did vote JT at first, but he revoked the vote and gave it to Jaylen Brown. So first vote for JB, gotta say. But Andrew, who do you got for CNR MVP tonight?
Yeah, to me, it's Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown tonight, as I said, was just completely dominant on the offensive end. He got to his spots every single time and made the defense pay for their mistakes. And uber efficient from the field, 55%. And once again, nearing a triple double. I mean, this guy is just on a whole other level, and you have to give him the CNR MVP in my mind, because without Jaylen Brown, this game goes differently.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like Jason Tatum is just a bit more deserving. Like I said earlier, I feel like he set the tone earlier on in the game, and you could also say the same thing with Jaylen Brown, as not only did he set the tone, but also pretty much was dominating for his team. But with Jason Tatum, of course, now in this game, I feel like he's gotten his three ball back and is truthfully feeling like himself. A lot of individuals said that for the Celtics to, further this success, when Jason Tatum returns, he would be or have to be at like 80%. I'd say he's around there. I'd say he's around 80 to almost 90% ready to really compete alongside this team once again after being away for almost a year. So, seeing him being able to, knock down his threes and also be productive, in playmaking, not as much as JB, but still, being important there. And again, grabbing those very crucial and important rebounds, contributing a lot on that end. I feel like he is a bit more deserving. Nothing, of course, against Jaylen Brown. I think he played very well. And again, that's somebody who's deserving of winning MVP. But for tonight, for me, I'm going with JT.
Yeah, I gotta say, I have to go with Jaylen Brown. Carl, I know Jason Tatum's gonna get it. Jason Tatum will get one before the
One
season
day.
is over.
One day.
I mean, he had 25 of them last year. He's going to get another one. But I thought Jaylen Brown, the 19 first quarter points, was phenomenal. And he just kept that pace going throughout the game, slowed down a little bit in the second, but still was phenomenal, especially, in the later part of the games, too. He still does so well at letting the game come to him and, being in the spotlight when it's clutch. So you see at the bottom, Jaylen Brown, 16th CNR MVP. As I messed up his points, you guys, I was looking right at it and I messed up his points. We'll fix that right away and put that back up. But I have to say, phenomenal game from Jaylen Brown, and I think he really, if you're looking at it at the end of the season, he has a strong case for MVP, not just for us, but for the league. I'm saying, like, he's been phenomenal. But
I want to reiterate or just dive in even deeper. Like, if you watch his game right now and then you watch, say, Shea's game, not just because they're in the same not just because they're in the MVP vote, like that's a given, like they're competing for that title. But if you genuinely like watch film and watch their games side by side, there's differences. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah,
Shea's got a little more like they play differently, but their ability to control a game. And how many fouls has Jalen Brown drawn this season? Right?
yeah.
I mean, he understands the game. He understands when he feels contact. He creates that contact, and then he gets to the rim. I think watching Jalen Brown draw these fouls, you can also go over to Shea and almost say, "Man, drawing fouls is it's a talent. Like it's an actual ability. You gotta know the game." Jalen Brown in the offseason said he studied the rule book. He went in depth and wanted to make sure he knew it like the back of his hand. So when he did get into these games, he would know what the refs were looking for. I mean, to me, you can look at it two ways. Obviously, you can look at it, oh, the refs are just giving this MVP more calls. But you can also look at it too. This MVP loves the details. He's intelligent. He's smart. He knows how to take advantage of the rule book. And I'm now going to get foul calls because I know what the refs are looking for and what they're willing to call. So I also think that's another layer to Jalen Brown's success this season and why he should win MVP and why he's a CNR MVP tonight.
That was beautiful, Andrew. I gotta say, like it's so true because he's so smart, and what other NBA players are studying the rule book like him? I mean, he's gonna be he. I know we talked about this in sports management class too with Coach AJ, but I'm not sure if he's on the board of governors for the Players Association. But he damn sure should be. He should be the
If he
president.
has enough time.
Yeah, no, but he's smart. He's smart. That's all I gotta say. But we are coming into the point where we're gonna give our final thoughts before we close out. So we'll start off with you, Andrew, go to Carl, and back to myself. What are your final thoughts after this big win against the Golden State Warriors tonight?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how they're playing as a collective unit. I mean, we've talked about it all season. They know each other now. They're familiar with each other. They know what makes each other tick, and they're leaning into that. So that's number one. But having Jalen Brown playing at this level, man, it's insane to watch. And he is just giving it all for the city, and he is a leader, but he also defends with a lot of heart and a lot of grit. And to have two of the best two-way players in the NBA on this Celtics team, it's really fun to watch, and it's a great representation for NBA and the league.
Yeah, again, it's always great to beat the Warriors, especially in this fashion. Um, Another thing too that I feel like is worth mentioning is how Jason Tatum, isn't necessarily taking over and allowing for his team, as one of you had mentioned earlier. Taking over and further showing that this guy is not selfish. This guy is furthering his case as a great leader for this team and just in general, because he's not looking to take over. Yeah, he's looking to be, the main guy again, but for him to get there, he's going to have to allow for himself to essentially watch his team, see how they unfold, see how they perform, see how they play. And he's not forcing anything. He's allowing them to do exactly what they were doing, earlier in this season without him on the court. And, I feel like that speaks to the volumes of the type of person that Jason Tatum is as well. Not just that, but also Jalen Brown said this before, saying that Jason Tatum continues his selflessness by coming back, even though there's a risk for him, to get hurt again, which God forbid that happens. And again, that just goes to show not only, again, is Jason Tatum showing his true leadership through there, but also furthering the chemistry between himself and Jalen Brown, and just in general, himself and the entire team. So again, great to see Jason Tatum playing and starting to really feel like himself again. And I can't wait to see more of the Celtics playing basketball and hopefully picking up another win, this time over the Memphis Grizzlies.
No, well said. I completely agree. I think Jason, you said it perfectly with Jason Tatum. how he's building back up and everything. And I think it's a matter of time before we see Tatum dropping 30 balls again, because I think he's more than capable, but it's so humble of him to sit back too and let the game come to him. This team already did stuff and played before him, and he's assembling himself back into the team. But I want to ask you guys a question too before we close out. We talked about this earlier. Jason Tatum had 25 regular season CNR MVPs last year. Do you guys still think Jaylen Brown beats him? Because again, limited games left in the season. He's at 16. He's gonna have to go on a win streak. But do you think he cracks 20? Like I think he'll crack 20, but I don't think he'll catch the 25. What do you guys think though, Andrew?
How many games are left?
Like 13.
So he would how many? So that would be
13,
where is he at? He's at 16. He'd have to win
Let me count.
majority out.
Yeah, you would have to win majority of them. Let me try to look up the games. Yeah, just give me a second. Let me count.
I mean, I don't think he does, because I think Tatum is due for CNR MVPs, and I think he's going to find his groove at some point. So he'll get a couple there, and you got to count for another Kata game, I think. Maybe one more Pritchard game. So I don't think so. I don't think so.
Maybe Garza.
Yeah,
Maybe Garza. I
Maybe
don't think so.
the last 3 games of the season too. What we put, yeah. So there's 13 games left. You play the Pelicans. There's a Hornets game in there, and the Magic. You got to see, maybe even Amari or Ron Harper Jr. MVP in there, because of the later games. Like when we have a playoff spot secured. I'm looking at that Hornets game, maybe a Pelicans game, maybe a Ron Harper Jr. CNR MVP. I don't know, guys. But do you think he's beating him, Carl?
I think Jaylen Brown can get to 20. Yeah, it's pretty much he would have to, win the next few of his games. But yeah, you also have to account for the additional players on this team, as Andrew alluded to, and like we also talked about before the podcast, Jason Tatum's going to get at least one.
Without a doubt, you guys. But we'll see. That's the fun and beauty in it. You guys, your votes matter too. Maybe we'll have a bunch of comments of JB, and we're forced to give it to JB every night. Who knows? I don't know. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. We will see you guys with the next one, Friday at 8:00 against the Grizzlies, and go check out our recent episode 92 of the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. We will see you guys next one. Peace, you guys.
Later.